All right, the spring 2026 housing market is really starting to heat up, and everyone's asking, what's coming next? So, to get some real answers, we're going to jump right in using one of America's top-ranked cities as a case study to see what the future might hold for the rest of us. I mean, this is it, right? The multi-trillion-dollar question on everybody's mind. After years of what felt like total chaos in the market, are things finally settling down? Is this the moment, that sweet spot, that both buyers and sellers have been waiting for? So, to get a clear picture, we're digging deep into the forecast for Indianapolis. Why there? Because that market is acting kind of like a crystal ball for the whole country. What's happening in Indy today could very well be what's happening in your neighborhood tomorrow. Okay, let's just dive right into that big claim. Is it really the perfect time? Well, the source material we're looking at doesn't pull any punches. Well, according to one top local realtor, Cara Conde, the answer is a big, resounding yes. And she's pointing to three key things: a market that's finally more balanced, interest rates that are hanging out around a more manageable 6.3%, and get this, a welcome flood of new homes hitting the market. That's a combo you don't see every day, and it might just be a golden opportunity. But this optimism isn't just a gut feeling. It's actually part of a fundamental shift that's happening, a huge change that experts are starting to call the Great Housing Reset. So what in the world is the Great Housing Reset? Think of it as a move away from that frantic seller-take-all market we've seen for the past few years. We're seeing more houses for sale, price hikes are actually slowing down to a normal pace, and interest rates are finding their footing. The market is basically taking a deep breath, and that's giving both buyers and sellers a much more level playing field. And here are the hard numbers to back that up. Compared to just last year, the number of homes for sale is up a whopping 20 to 30%. Price growth? We're looking at a modest 2 to 4%, a far cry from the crazy double-digit jumps we got used to. And with rates settling down near 6.3%, houses are becoming more affordable again, which is coaxing a lot more buyers back into the game. Okay, so how does a reset market suddenly become a national hotspot? Let's dig into the numbers that are putting a place like Indianapolis on the map. First off, check this out. The National Association of Realtors, the NAR, they've ranked Indianapolis as the #4 housing hotspot in the entire country for 2026. That is a massive vote of confidence. Now let's talk about something we all care about: affordability. Indy has an affordability score of 0.89, which crushes the national average of 0.67. So what does that even mean? Well, in plain English, it just means your paycheck goes a whole lot farther here when you're trying to buy a home. And what's the engine behind all this? A really healthy job market. With job growth clocking in at over 1.1%, more people have stable incomes and the confidence to actually go out and buy a home. That's what keeps the whole market humming. So who's actually buying these homes? It's a really interesting mix. You've got this huge wave of millennials making up the biggest piece of the pie. Then you've got professionals moving in for new corporate jobs, and families being drawn in by big new infrastructure projects. And of course, those more stable interest rates, that's just the cherry on top. But here's a super important thing to remember. A hot market doesn't mean everywhere's hot. The story can change, and I mean drastically, when you zoom in and look at the city versus its ritzy suburbs. And this is where it gets really fascinating. Right in the heart of Indianapolis, you can still find great homes for under $310,000 with pretty modest growth. But then you drive just a few miles out to places like Carmel or Zionsville, and it's a completely different universe. Prices are way up there, and growth is hitting double digits. It just goes to show you that location, location, location is still the #1 rule of real estate. Okay, so what does this all mean for you? Let's break down the playbook, the actual strategies you can use to win in the spring 2026 market, whether you're buying a house or selling one. For buyers, the message is pretty clear. Get your financing figured out early and lock in a good rate. And don't be afraid to negotiate. Price cuts are happening more often now. Now for sellers, it's a different game. You've got to be realistic with your price right from the get-go, and seriously consider professional staging. It could get you 1 to 3% more on your offer. Oh, and get that house listed early in the spring to catch all those eager buyers. Okay, but hold on. Before you jump in, we have to talk about the potential risks. Because, no market is a sure thing, and there are definitely a few storm clouds we need to keep an eye on. This whole balanced market thing, it's pretty fragile. If inflation sticks around, those interest rates could creep back up. A full-blown recession could definitely put a chill on demand. And if too many houses hit the market all at once, the power could shift completely over to the buyers by the time summer rolls around. So what's the big takeaway here? We're in this really interesting moment of balance. A perfect time, maybe, but you have to understand that this balance is sitting on a knife's edge. The smallest little economic tremors could shake everything up. And that leaves us with one final big question to chew on. In a market that's supposedly balanced, who really has the upper hand? Is it the buyer, who suddenly has more choices, or is it the seller, who's still in a city that's growing like crazy? That's the real question to think about as we head into spring.